Welcome, everyone, to today's edition of the Software Spotlight Live, your front row seat to the latest innovations in software for small business. I'm Michael Burnswag, your host, and each week we are joined by executives at leading software companies to get an insider's perspective on the emerging technologies, business strategies, and market trends shaping the future. Tune in to stay ahead of the curve on leveraging software to boost productivity and growth in your business. Be sure to visit our website, softwareoasis.com, to access our free weekly software newsletter and sign up for our upcoming software webinar series. Today, we're in for a real treat. We're being joined by Steve Anderson. He's the founder and CEO of Catalyit, a technology advisory firm that helps organize, navigate digital transformations. With over 20 years of experience in enterprise software and consulting, Anderson started Catalyit to provide expert guidance on leveraging emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and data analytics to drive innovation and business growth for insurance agencies. So, with that, welcome to the podcast, Steve.
Michael, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, same here, and we're always looking to provide our listeners and community with some unique angles on software and tech and all of that. So I think this is a great area to focus on. And clearly, there are many independent and regional agents all across the nation, and every single one of them requires IT support. So I was hoping you could give us a little background on yourself and your solution.
I'd be happy to. For myself, I've been part of the insurance industry and actually the distribution side of that, insurance agents and brokers, my entire career. As you can tell, that's probably, you can assume it's been a long time. Early on in my career, I worked in two different independent insurance agencies, one in the Washington, D.C. area and one in the Dallas Fort Worth area,
Sure.
and did all kinds of jobs, sales, operations, etc. And really got it intrigued with and developed an interest around the technology that these small businesses were using to manage sales, manage their policyholders, claims, social when that came to be a thing. And so I left the last agency I was with, started my own consulting firm in 1999, and with the purpose of really consulting and helping these organizations kind of navigate all the technology. And as you can think about, 99, the 2000s, 20, 2010s, lots of new technology coming. The internet was just starting to grow, et cetera. So that's what I did. And about so on the Catalyt side of things, so I was small, had a couple people in my organization, but mostly focused on one-on-one consulting projects with these organizations.
Sure.
I was approached by actually three different state insurance associations who all had a strategic goal to help their members with technology. They knew it's a pain point. They knew they needed and wanted to do more for their members, but they didn't really have the resources or the know-how to do it. So they approached me, given my, I guess, visibility in the industry, and asked, "Would you be interested in helping us put something together?" And I said yes. Kind of to my surprise, and I think to theirs a little bit, but we worked probably a year and a half. Business plan. What does this look like? How do we monetize it? How do we get income coming in? How do we help agents? And what does all of that look like? And so Catalyt now is a little over 3 years old, and
Sure.
still in startup mode, but growing rapidly. We now work with 26 state insurance associations on behalf of their members. So we've got a pretty good breadth in the independent insurance agent world. And your earlier comment, I will tell you, there are about 40,000 independent insurance agents in the United States.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So let me ask you. Clearly, you have insurance companies, you have insurance organizations at the state level, like you're talking about, as well as individual agents. So, which specific area are you working with? Only with the state level organizations, or are you working down to the agent level as well?
We work at the agent level through
Okay,
the state association, and those agents are members of the state association, and they get a bit of a discount on our services and the information we provide, et cetera. We don't currently work with insurance companies.
got it.
That's
Okay.
really a very different part of the same ecosystem, but very different needs, et cetera. So we don't address that. There are other organizations that do a good job of that.
Sure. No, so you have a very focused, specific niche that you're working with.
Yep.
So let me ask you, could you take me through a day in the life? Like, let's say I am, ABC agent in any town, USA, and I were working with your organization. What would it look like, from when I get started until I'm onboarded, and then what are the day-to-day services that I might experience?
Sure. So um, let me give you kind of the overall. What we do is help agents maximize the technology they already have. And
Sure.
most have database systems, what we call agency management systems. They have quoting systems to get a premium price on an auto, home, or a business. So they've got lots of different systems already in place. So first thing we're trying to do is help them get the most out of it. As you know, with technology, you can put something in, and if you're not intentional, then it all of the various things it can do aren't used. And so
Sure.
that's one of the things that we do. And then we help them discover, evaluate, and select what else they might need. Um,
Okay.
and then kind of the fifth piece or the final piece is that we help them implement that new stuff so they get the maximum benefit out of it. So it's a bit of a circle there as we think about it. So to do that, the first thing we do when we start working with a agent organization is we have created an assessment that asks a series of questions in 5 different areas about their operation, and we score them based on their answers. And that gives us and it gives them, because we generate a report with their score and with some suggestions on what else they could do or what things are out there that we've seen other agencies like them in terms of size, number of employees, geographic area do with technology to gain the benefit out of it. And really, I think about technology, it needs to do one of two things. It needs to increase revenue or reduce expenses. And if it can do both, that's even better. Um, so that assessment then leads into, and what I created was what we call the Catalyit success journey. So, because technology, I do believe, is a journey, not a project.
Sure. Sure.
Too often it's okay, I got to do this without thinking strategically about how does that fit into the whole, and how do I plan today for what I might need in a year or 2 years or 3 years. And so there are 4 milestones that we've created in that success journey. The first is we call baseline. That's the minimum technology that an insurance agent needs to be successful in today's world.
Sure.
Next is better, kind of the next step. Best, and we're alluding there to best practices. What do some of the top agencies in terms of revenue, in terms of margins, what do they do? What do they use? And then the fourth category is what I call beyond. And that is looking at what technology is out there that is going to become best practices in the future? And are they experimenting? Are they paying attention to some of that? And that really, again, goes back to that strategic mindset of we have a problem in our organization we're trying to solve. What's there today and what's there in the future that will help me find a solution to that problem?
Sure. And I'm sure many of the agencies you're working with are multi-generational family
Yep.
businesses, where there's a lot of stakeholders and a lot of people involved. What is the typical size of an agency, and what are the trends? Are you seeing
Yeah.
independent agents continuing, or are they getting gobbled up by larger entities, or what does it look like? What's
So
the
there are a
landscape?
couple. Yeah, no, that's a great question there, and there are a couple of answers to that. So I'll take kind of that last comment first. So, well, let me just say this: a typical independent agent, probably 80%, have somewhere between 5 and 20 employees. So they truly are small businesses,
Sure.
and they're located in communities, and that is one of their strengths. So we've seen a lot in the insure tech, right? So technology firms coming into the insurance space, thinking that we can do it all digitally, we'll do it all online.
Right.
People don't want to talk to people anymore. And what we're finding is, and a lot of it's because these agents are in the community, they're going to the country club, they're going to church, they're going to Kiwanis, they're
Involved, yeah.
sponsoring softball, they're involved in their community, and so those personal relationships really do become, one of their gateways to building their business, building their
Sure.
agency.
And at a high level, people buy from people, so
Yes,
that makes
exactly.
a lot of sense.
Now, where the problem comes is people still want to start and do more digitally. So I'm kind of in that middle area of helping them understand the technology and helping them understand why they might want to change what they've done in the past, which has been very successful. But given that consumers today have different expectations, and that's because of Amazon and name any of the number of other companies out there that are giving customers a much different experience. And in fact, I'll say this real quick, but I mean, literally today I was working on a video talking about using personalized video as a communication. And it all started when my gas company, Atmos Energy, sent me an email with a link, click a link to a personalized video talking about my account, my usage, some safety tips about gas. And it really struck me that agents need to be doing this also. And again, part of the barrier is, but we want to pick up the phone and call, or we want to. So, there's that give and take of how do we incorporate new technology and still maintain the relationships that we have and have built over time.
Sure. And
So,
there's very few industries that are more competitive than insurance. So,
that absolutely true. Yeah,
yeah.
and there are lots of options, and a lot of people might not think of that today, given some of the price increases and some of those kinds of things. But it is a extremely competitive industry. The other comment I made that you asked was, are some of these firms getting gobbled up by the larger? So that 20 or probably even 5% of the very large brokers out there are buying up some of these smaller agencies. And one of the reasons is the average age of a independent agency owner is in the upper 50s. And so average age now, right? And so there certainly is a move to retiring, to selling out, to cashing out. But what's really interesting to me is as that's happening, not everybody in the agency wants to work for a large organization. In fact, I have an independent agent friend here locally that happened to. Large firm came in, bought the local agency, two of the salespeople in that insurance agency didn't want to go to work for a large organization and started their own agency. So some of that is actually feeding new agencies who have new problems, new technology needs that we can help with.
Sure. And I'm sure at a high level, having, been there and done that, for multiple agencies in multiple regions, you have the expertise to be able to, quickly, advise and help them get on the right track to, enable technology and all of that. But do you find that many of the agents are reaching out to you, or you're reaching out to them, or how do they typically find you and get engaged?
Yeah, so we do so we have a lot of communication. We do a weekly email newsletter that goes out right now to about 15,000 individuals. And again, one of the advantages we have working with the state associations is we get access to their member list.
Sure.
So, and they are supporting us with their members. So the connection cycle's a bit easier than a Facebook ad or some of the
Sure.
other methods of getting clients. So we're fortunate in that. And that's part of that strong relationship that I've been able to build with these various state association executives. And again, we're helping their members with all of this. So that's when, and then we help support the association as they're sending out information to their members in their kind of normal flow of communication. So that becomes our primary way. And kind of the entry point is that tech assessment. So that's what we get people to fill out. And for a subscriber, we then they can, and we really push pretty hard to schedule a phone call with them to review the results, because
Sure.
our goal is to help them move forward, right? And we want to identify maybe one, two, or three kind of quick things they could do to improve, their whatever it is, right? Whatever they were low in on the assessment, et cetera.
Sure.
And then that leads to engagement with them on the platform, et cetera.
And I guess that's a good question. So, when you say platform, do you have a structured technology that's something that you'll be able to roll out, for any of your agents that need to get up and running, or is it a la carte? Each agency and the needs are very different, or
Well, so I would say first, we provide advice and counseling to agents. So one of the things we've done, and this is a big part of what we do, is we have built a universe of vendors. What actually we call solution providers. So they're
sure,
providing a solution to agents, and we have now over 160 vendors with detailed information about who they are. So go back to what I said about discovering what's out there. We have 28 categories of technology and 160 vendors spread through those categories. So if somebody thinks, I've heard about this vendor, they can come to our platform and learn more about it. And they can, in it, in, I'll get it out. Hang on a second.
hmm,
They can also find more specific information. So we do reviews of different platforms. So what we call a Catalyit team review, and we encourage our subscribers to leave reviews, 1 to 5 stars, and comments about what they liked, what they didn't like, what they change. Again, typical consumer facing process, but not in the independent agency world. And so that's what we've brought into their stable of solutions that they can go to. So honestly, you can think about it as do it yourself. So we have a lot of self-service stuff. Do it with you. So we have 3 live events every month. Um, Hot topic, which is a deeper dive into something. Open Q&A, which is a ask me anything group mastermind. We get on a call. They can call in with their questions and we'll just talk about it. So they have access to more in-depth information. And then the third in the month is what we call Demo Lounge. So we have one of our solution providers demo their product. That goes on the solution provider page. They can watch the demo anytime they want. So if they're starting the research, um, they can do a lot without contacting 15 vendors to figure out which one is the right one for them. And then really the final piece of that is we do have a full consulting service package for those that want more one-on-one or specific help.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, what are some of the you know challenges that you had as you were kind of making that transition to starting up your own business and getting things off the ground?
Well, I would say, several. Again, startup, new business. We had all these great ideas that then, hit the reality of agents. And so, one of the challenges was figuring out the right price point. So we do charge a subscription fee. Some of our states actually pay us directly on behalf of all their members that get access to our platform. So, again, there's a little bit of mix there, but
Sure.
trying to determine right that revenue model and how do we sustain what we're building for agents. And I think one of our early problems was agents thought we were just about new technology, meaning they could go in and find, but they don't choose new technology all that often. And we made a pivot to focus more on maximizing what they already have, and that has resonated, with the agents that we work with. Uh, One of the other things that we did is, in addition to the assessment, we have what we call the tech stack survey, and that is where we ask, what are you using, and how satisfied are you with the solution, 1 to 5 stars. And we actually uh, for 2 years now have published that information, and really for the first time kind of an independent source of information about market share for various vendors, because agents are always asking, well, who else uses this and should I, and so we become a resource for the industry to provide some of this information.
Got
So
it. No, that makes
the,
a lot of sense.
yeah,
Obviously,
so
it's
I
a
would say
journey.
that the challenges were revenue model, still are, but we're getting it dialed in quite a bit more. I think the other challenge is, was, and again still is, but we're starting to transition out of that. Is who are they? What do they do? And why would I want to work with them? Um, so just that messaging. So really took a couple of years of a lot of work and a lot of communication around why Catalyit, and why would an agent think about using us or coming to us for those resources. And again, we're getting testimonials, right? Kind of, I would call that a little more typical,
Sure.
but it's that startup getting known, and I think the other aspect of it too is, do we have staying power? Meaning, are we going to be around, or is this a flash in the pan kind of thing? And so far, we're still here.
Ah, there you go. And so, as far as an agent getting up and running on the platform, what does the subscription model look like? What are the fees and all of that and
So we have
durations?
a couple of different levels. So
Sure.
first level is what we call basic, and actually that is available to any independent agent anywhere. Um, Limited access to information on our website, but they do get access to our assessment and the report. And that's sort of a lead gen kind of idea, right? We want to get them
Sure.
in, and it helps us have a bigger data set in order to start identifying trends, what is changing, what new vendors are becoming popular, etc. Then there is a non um, non-state association relationship price, and that is $32 a month or $320 annually.
Okay.
And then for those states that work with us, we have an agreement with, their member pricing is $17 a month and $170 annually.
Okay.
And then the final one I mentioned was what we call member benefit. So the association pays us on behalf of all their members, and then they include it as part of the benefit of being a member of the state association.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I would think at a high level, it's something that agents across the country would derive a lot of benefit from. Now, can you talk a little bit about regions that you do and don't cover as far as agents?
And reason, geographic or
Yeah,
types?
geographic regions. Yeah.
Actually, so as I mentioned, I think we have 26 states that we work with, and we have subscribers in, I believe, 40 states. So we
Okay.
have people in states that we don't have a direct relationship with. So again, they're seeing some value in having resources available to them. But I would say U.S. We are U.S. based because it's U.S. insurance is really quite different from other countries.
Sure.
The closest is Canada to us, but we have not moved up into that country there. And Europe and Asia are very, very different.
Sure.
Australia, et cetera, are very, very different. So that's not even on our radar at this point, but it's any U.S. and territories.
Sure. So as far as the platform itself, are there any specific enhancements you've made recently that you're really proud of that you wanted to let our listeners know about that they'd be
Yeah,
excited to hear about?
a couple come to mind, and I would say the one we're really working on right now is just revamping the site. So, when you start, you have all these great ideas for the website, and then it starts getting old and looks tired and et cetera. So
Sure.
we are revamping, organizing, streamlining, making things simpler. Um, so that's kind of one. But I think the other one that is unique that we've developed is what we call a tech selector. So I'll give you an example. So I mentioned the database systems, customer tracking, CRM, you might call them. In the industry, it's called agency management systems because it does track customers and their policies and claims and changes that they need to make and all of that. So it's a more complicated than just a CRM.
Sure.
But there are currently 23 different platforms that an agent can choose. So figuring out which one is right for them can be really complicated. Now, certainly consulting, but a lot of agents are smaller and don't want to pay what they would need to pay for having individual help to make those selections. So we created a report, I would call it, or a process where we ask them questions, 10 to 15. What's most important to you when you are looking at a agency management system? What features? And an easy one to talk about, because there are a lot of technical,
Right.
insurance stuff, but an easy one to talk about is general ledger accounting. So many of the systems have a full accounting, including general ledger. And I won't go in this rabbit hole, but insurance trust accounting is very regulated and complicated. And basically, it means that an agent might get paid a premium, but part of that premium goes to the insurance company providing the coverage. And so they need to make sure that money is separate from their commission income. So that's
Right.
premium trust accounting, and it's very complicated and very regulated, and you got to do it right or you get in trouble. So some agents say, I have to have general ledger as part of my AMS. Well, that cuts out X number of platforms that don't have that capability. So they go through those questions, they answer them, customized to them, and then we produce a report where we score or give a percentage of match to each of the platforms and then list them in order from most likely to match your needs to least likely. So now they have another tool to start doing their own research and can save them significant amount of time from having to do all of that themselves. So that's one of our real goals. But those tech selectors, we're rolling out, and we'll have them for most of our technology categories here over this year in 2024.
Yeah, and obviously, you as well as I know that making the wrong platform decision is something that can
Oh,
haunt the company for years.
yes, uh, absolutely. And that's why we try and help them spend the right amount of time picking the right platform. Because basically, for insurance agents, I'll say this: they that is a 10 to 15-year decision. They're not going to go through another change every couple of years. It's just too disruptive, too hard, too costly, et cetera. So you're absolutely right.
So, if you were to bullet point the main categories or types of tech decisions that a agent needs to explore in depth, what are those main categories? Obviously, the platform.
Yeah, I was going to say, so kind of the hub, as we think about it, is the agency management system. And then you've got various other systems. So, for example, um, there's a new and growing category of technology that helps consumers, both personal and commercial, complete insurance applications in a more digital and streamlined manner. Um, and so now the question becomes, okay, capture all that data on applications that has to be sent to the insurance company or sent to a quoting platform to get a price from the insurance company. Um, so those are two things right there. And then the connections, what integrates with what data moves back to the main agency management system or doesn't, and that requires double entry. So you start adding different platforms. And again, from our tech stack survey, we now know that the smaller agencies have almost 7 different platforms. The larger agencies have 11 to 12.
Sure.
And so, again, think about all those decisions and trying to make sure that they connect together. You can reduce double entry, and give a better streamlined experience to the consumer that you deal with day to day.
Yeah, and I think one of the trends that we're seeing in software and especially software as a service is companies, regardless of the industry, are really looking to reduce what I guess might be called SaaS sprawl, where they
Yep.
have just a tremendous number of different solutions that they're paying for, some of which they're using, some of which they're not, and really, I think a lot of companies are obviously looking to have solutions that provide multiple functionality within a single solution, and to your point, having multiple solutions requires data entry and band-aids and things to tie things together that may not be ideal. So
Yeah,
really,
and the thing I push for and have for quite a while now in the industry is open platforms. So I've always felt it's let a solution provider focus on what they're good at, but I need some of these other things to talk and communicate. So when I say open platform, I'm talking about APIs, and I'm talking about ways to move data the way the agency needs it moved, so that none of that happens. And I would say right now the vendors in our industry are getting better, but have been reluctant to actually adopt open APIs, which is extremely frustrating for us.
Sure. No, absolutely. And I can imagine that. And, clearly, with compliance and all of that, it's highly regulated and there's a lot of boxes to check. But
Yep,
on the flip side of that, obviously, delivering the best experience for the end consumer is really the goal of any agent, to be able
exactly.
to achieve. And so, the different platforms that you mentioned, and like, what do you see most agents doing for bringing customers in the front door in terms of marketing, in terms of online SEO, in terms of different channels to bring customers to their front door?
Well, yeah, absolutely. They are doing all of those, and depending on the agency, um, depends on how much they're doing and in what avenue they're doing it. So, I would say most agents say referrals are their primary source, um,
Sure.
and and I'm not sure that's actually true as much now as it was in the past, because people are certainly more digitally oriented. So we spend, again, categories around website development, SEO, um, social media management, reputation management, on social media, maximizing your Google My Business page, right? All the what I would call typical types of online presence stuff. So that's all big areas. And again, most agencies, um, that's fairly new for them.
Sure.
Now, I would say too, there's kind of two different groups here. One of those groups are younger agents that are coming into the business, and it's kind of the digital native idea. For them, it's like, of course we're going to use Facebook. Of course we're going to use YouTube. Of
Sure.
course we're going to write content. And some of the older that I mentioned, agency owners, don't think it works or are resistant to letting them experiment with it. So that's a bit of a generational change going on right now.
Yeah. Okay. So it makes a lot of sense. And what would you say, you're seeing in terms of the level of technical competence when it comes to marketing of a lot of the agencies? Are they really outsourcing these functions, or are a lot of them doing it internally, or are a lot of them just not doing it at all?
I would say a lot are outsourcing it. And again, part of that thinking is, they are good at selling insurance. Are they good at the marketing piece? And I would say, in general, what I've experienced over my career, the last 25 years, is marketing and sales are the last area to be touched by technology.
Sure.
So I could pull up, but the percent I this may not be accurate, but it'll be close. The percent of agencies that have a true CRM or a what I would call a true marketing automation platform is in the low double digits, probably 20, 30% maybe. Now that is an area that's increasing, um, and is something I focus on a lot because I believe in it.
Right.
And um, what I call follow-up failure, right? How do you stay in touch with your clients throughout the year, and appropriate? Well, you can't. You've got to automate that in order to make it consistent, basically. So marketing and sales is hard, and more and more are starting to experiment and actually gain some real traction with digital, online, fill out a form, we follow up right away type of process. Um, that's not the majority by any
Yeah.
stretch.
No, and there are a lot of online competitors that are,
Yes,
that is their focus. So,
right. Well,
being
and again, if you, the thinking is, I want to talk to people, and I always say back to agents, I don't care what you want. What does the customer want? And if they want to go online, have a process so they can, and then talk to them. It's not that you never talk to them, but that initial steps can be digital, can be online, and can be great clients. So
Absolutely. And I think no matter what the, market or industry is, being where your customers want you to be and being available, and like you said at the beginning of the podcast, people buy from people, and a lot of it is relationship based, but different generations have different ways of communicating and interacting, and all of
right,
that, and even in a multi-generational type of business, it's still
exactly.
important to
Yep.
to be where your customers want to be. So as far as where the platform is heading, are there some specific uh, roadmap type items that you have for your platform that you're really excited to be working towards, that you wanted to share with our community?
I couldn't. How do I want to say this? We almost can't have a conversation without bringing up generative AI,
Sure.
right? And so, I've made my career on my curiosity and staying ahead of technology changes. And I'm pretty convinced generative AI and whatever its multiple formats will be over the next, months and years is a technology that is and will gain traction. And I want agents to be able to understand how they can use it to streamline their operations. And, I don't believe it's going to replace people. I think it's going to augment what people do. Um, so, anyway, I won't go into all of that, but that to say, in May, um, we have what we're calling AI month, and I'm doing 4 sessions, one each week, on different aspects of it, and it's a very uh, practical um, use cases or examples that resonate with agents on what it can be done used for. And certainly, content generation is one. Data analytics is a really interesting one. Um, and I'm working now on showing them how it might be able to be used to compare policies. So,
Sure.
a normal practice in an agency is I have a auto policy now, I have a renewal policy coming in. Are they the same? Has the coverage changed? What do I need to understand about that new policy so I can better inform my client about those changes? And that's a really manual process right now. And
Yeah, and
I
at a high level, clearly, insurance, companies continue to offer more, cost and lower
coverage,
capabilities in terms of the
coverage, yeah.
coverages.
So
Yeah,
they could
so
be
it's
reducing coverage. They
important to
could be, yep,
understand.
yeah. And again, from an agency perspective, if they don't properly inform their client of those changes and they have a claim or a loss that's not covered, that then becomes a potential liability, what we call errors,
Absolutely.
E&O, against the agency for not informing them. So it's a really important function, but it's really manual right now. And if there's a way, and again, I don't think you'll take the human out of it, but I think you can take some of the grunt work of those comparisons. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And I think at a high level, it's so important to embrace these changes because they're happening whether you like it or not. And it's a matter of, getting on the bandwagon and being in the know and taking advantage of the capabilities versus trying to resist. But
Yeah,
and I think, if you look at different types of policies, clearly cyber and cyber liability and that whole, aspect of policies has,
yep,
you know, changed probably the most dramatically of all of the different kinds of policies. Not only as you can't turn the news on without hearing something in that realm, but the flip side of that is a lot of the insurance companies are learning on the fly. So
yes.
a lot of it is
Yeah, cyber
changing.
is a really interesting area. We don't have time to go into all of that,
Yeah, no,
but
that's wonderful. But I
that
really
is
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, very much appreciate the deep dive into this segment of insurance and everything that you're, doing out there. I think a lot of our listeners either are SMBs, and many
Uh-huh.
of them are in the insurance segment of the market, and if not, they're working with local agents. So I think this helps a lot of the SMBs listening to the podcast understand the unique perspective and challenges for local agents. But I think everything you're doing there at Catalyit really serves a very needed purpose in the industry, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to join us today.
Michael, it's a pleasure. Enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, coming up on our next episode, tune in for our 4 p.m. live stream, which is with Tracy Hazard. She's the founder of Poditize, offering a SaaS and service program to promote podcasts. So, seeing retention challenges, Tracy pioneered Poditize's promotion program, providing strategic marketing to dramatically increase listener retention for clients, for podcasters around the world. So that'll be an exciting conversation. And be sure to visit our website, softwareoasis.com, to access our free weekly software newsletter. And be sure to sign up for our upcoming software webinar series and subscribe to our live stream at Software Oasis on YouTube to take advantage of all of the great guests that we have on the Software Spotlight. So joining us today, Steve Anderson from Catalyit. I really appreciate your time.